Bruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Tezvav Amud Beis. 10 lines from the bottom, from the 2 dots. The Gemara previously brought Rabbi Yossi ben Yoezer Ish Tzreida and Rabbi Yossi ben Yochanan Ish Yushalayim. The zug that we find in the beginning of Pirkei Avos, Av Bezdin and Nasi, that they were goyzer certain tumos. And the Brisa said they were goyzer tumas ha'amim, and that which we saw until now. And now the Gemara discusses how they were goyzer tuma on klei zechuchis. Says the Gemara, klei zechuchis, my taima gozer b'hu rabon and tuma. Why is it that the Chachamim, the 2 Yosis, were goyzer tuma on klei zechuchis, on glassware? Rabbi Yochanan Amar Rish Lakish, hoyel utchilas briyasan min hachol. Since their original formulation is with sand, Shavinu Rabbanan kekli cheres. The Rabbanan made them like kli cheres, and since kli cheres is susceptible to tuma midi araisa, therefore they made a gezeira on klei cheres, on klei zechuchis, on glassware, that it is also susceptible to tuma midi Rabbanan. Ask the Gemara Elameyato, lo tehe lohen tahar b'mikvah. Then you should not be able to then matbil and metaher the klei zechuchis in a mikvah, because a kli cheres cannot become tar in a mikvah. The only way you can metaher a kli cheres from its tumah is by breaking it. Alamatzan, but why is it teaching the Mishnah? Ve'elu choytzitzin bekelim hazefes vehamor beklei zechuchis. And these are the following chatzitzas in a kli zechuchis, zefes and more. These are things that have a credible amount of dveik, their davuk, they're sticking to the kli, whereby the owner of the kli zechuchis, of the glassware, is makpid on them, whereby they call it chatzitza. So you see from this Mishnah that indeed a glassware is able to then become tahor in a mikvah. Only here there's a problem of a chatzitza. No, we're talking about a scenario where the glassware had a hole in it, and the owner poured lead to fill up the hole, and that's why it can now be put into the mikvah and become tahor. Rabbi Meir, according to the opinion of Rabbi Meir, because Rabbi Meir, he is of the opinion that everything goes after the maimid, and since over here the maimid of this kli that makes it a viable vessel is the aver, the lead that was poured into it, therefore it has the status in this case of a metal kli, whereby you can then matbil it and metire in a mikvah. The tanya, like we see in the Brisa, that indeed Rabbi Meir holds this way, kli zechuchi shenikvu vehitif lesoichan aver. If you have a glass vessel that has a hole, and then it's poured in it lead in order to then make it a good vessel again. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, Rabbi Meir metame v'chacham metarin. Rabbi Meir says that kli is now susceptible to tuma again because it is considered to be a viable vessel. So you see that Rabbi Meir holds that indeed that it goes after its maimid. So to over here, therefore, that if it then is going into a mikvah, one can metaher such a kli. But a regular kli, that is a kli zechuchis, a glassware, cannot be put into a mikvah and become tar because it's like a kli cheres. It's similar to an earthen vessel. Elameyata asked the Gemara, if that's so, that indeed that it's similar to an earthen vessel like a kli cheres, then lo litmoy megabon, then a glassware should not become tamei from its walls, because a kli cheres, ceramic, an earthenware, that doesn't become susceptible to tuma from its walls. The way it becomes tamei is if something that is metame, is self-tamei, goes within the airspace of the walls of this kli cheres. But now when it touches the kli cheres, alomatna, what does it say in the Mishnah? Klei cheres v'klei neser tumas and shove. Their ability to become susceptible to tuma is equal. Mitamin umitamim mi'avareim. They are becoming tamei when, again, something that is tamei is within the airspace, within the walls of the kli, and therefore even if it is hanging, elevated, it's inside of the walls, hanging into the air. It'll metame the kli cheres and the kli neser. And the kli cheres and the kli neser that is tameh, if it has something inside of the walls, even if it's suspended, it's not actually touching the kli itself, will become tameh if the kli cheres is tameh. Umita'amin me'acharein. And it becomes tameh if it has me'acharein, from behind it. Let's say there's also a halal, there's a place where there's an airspace, and there's something that is tameh within that airspace that will also then metame the kli cheres and the kli neser. Ve'ein metamin vegabein, but doesn't become tameh when something that is tameh touches its walls. V'shvirasan mitaharosan, and only breaking them will mitaher them. That's what the Mishnah teaches. Says the Gemara to explain its question. Klei neser ve'klei cheres hu de tumasan shove. Their tameh, their susceptibility to tumah is equal. Aval mide acharina loy, but everything else not, and therefore the glassware does not have the same din as a kli cheres, because the glassware does become susceptible to tumah by something that's tameh touching its walls. Amrei, says the Gemara, Kevan de kinish dabru yesh lohem takana. Since glassware, when you break them, so then it can be reconstituted. It has a takana. Ashavinu kekli matochos. Therefore, the Chacham gave it the same status as metalware in regards to its susceptibility to tumah, and therefore it becomes tameh by touching its walls. Says the Gemara, Elameyata, if you're going to say it's similar to a kli that is like a mateches, like a metal kli, because it has its susceptibility like a kli mateches, then yachzu letumason yeshana kikli matochas. Then it should also then, once it's reconstituted, after it was broken and now made into a kli again, it should have the same status as tuma what it had before, what we call tuma yeshana. Just like any kli mateches, when it becomes broken and it's reconstituted, so the Chacham gave it a din of tuma as it had originally before it was broken. Disnan kli matochos pshutein mekableim tmein. A kli matochos, kelim that are metalware, whether they're flat and they don't have a kli kibul, or they have a kli kibul. That is, even whether it's flat, let's say it's like a knife, or it's like a bowl that has a kli kibul, they have susceptibility to tumah. Nishtabru or nishbaru tiharu. If they break them, then they become tahor. Chazer va'asa mehen kelim. But if you go ahead and reconstitute that metal kli into a kli again, chazu l'tumasan yeshana. They retain the original status as a tuma yeshana. V'ilu gabe klei zechuchis tnan. But in regards to glassware, the Mishnah teaches otherwise. Kli eitz v'kli or v'kli etzem v'kli zechuchis peshuteim taharin umekableim tmein. That when they are flatware, then they are tahor. They don't mikabel tuma, and only when they have a kli kibul are they mikabel tuma. Nishbaru taharu. If you break them, they become tahor. And when you reconstitute the glassware, then it only becomes susceptible to tumah mikanu lahabo, but doesn't get a status of tameh from before. Says the Gemara, the diuk mikanu lahabo. The Mishnah said in lemafreya lo, but back in regards to retroactively, it doesn't get a tumah yeshana like a kli mateches. Answers the Gemara, tumason. Tumas kli zechuchis derabonon, v'tuma yeshana derabonon. The kli zechuchis itself was only given a gzeira derabonon b'kabel tuma, and the tuma yeshana is derabonon. Explains the Gemara, b'tuma deraisa achisu b'rabonon tuma, b'tuma derabonon achisu b'rabonon tuma. That which is susceptible to tuma deraisa like a kli zechuchis, therefore when you reconstitute it, therefore it has a din, the rabbanon, of a tuma yishana. But a kli zechuchis, which itself is only tamei midirabanan, therefore doesn't get the status of a tuma yishana midirabanan if it was reconstituted. Ask the Gemara, pshuteya mia litma, but the flatware, glass flatware should become tamei, should be susceptible to tuma. And yet we saw in the Mishnah before that it's not, only if it has a kli kibul. Asking more, why not? The pshute kli matochos deraisininu. When it comes to matochos, when it comes to metalware, and they're flat metalware, they are susceptible to tuma midiraisa. So why don't we say, therefore, that the glassware should then become susceptible to midirabanan, even if it's flatware? Answers the Gemara, Avdu behu rabban hekera. Ki hechidel lisroif alayu truma v'kochim. The Rabbanan, when they made the takana, they want to make a heker, a clear distinction between the glassware and other things. Since glassware is only midirabanan, therefore, if indeed it touches truma and is poisel truma, we want to make a distinction and not saref the truma, and just leave the truma as is. Of course, you can't eat the truma, but we'll have the din of talui, that it'll be toiled the truma, that the truma will have to be just left in order to rot and become inedible. So in order to make that distinction, that heker, they did not make a gzeira of tuma on flatware of kli zechuchis. Ravashi gives another answer. La'olam lekli cheres damu. Really, we're talking about it as a kli cheres. It's similar to a kli cheres, and therefore this glassware, because it's made originally from sand and it has the same properties of a kli cheres, therefore we don't say that it's susceptible to tuma when it's flatware, and we also don't say that it has tuma yeshana. You asked before the kokashilach lolitmo megabon, then why does it not become tamei when it's touched? After all, we say when it comes to earthenware, kli cheres, it only becomes tamei when something that's tamei enters its airspace. But when you touch something that's tamei touches the kli, it doesn't become tamei. So why over here is it different when it comes to glassware? Answers the Gemara, hoyel v'nire toichoy kebaro. Since glassware is transparent, therefore the inside looks like the outside, whereby if you touch the outside, thereby it will become tamei as if it was then within the airspace itself.